In today's interconnected world, APIs or application programming interfaces are the invisible threads that weave together our digital experiences. They allow different software systems to talk to each other, share data, and collaborate seamlessly. Think of APIs as messengers that carry requests and responses between applications. When you book a flight online, check the weather on your phone, or order food through an app, you're interacting with APIs behind the scenes. APIs have revolutionized the way we build, integrate, and use software. They enable businesses to extend their reach, unlock new revenue streams, and foster innovation. From mobile apps and cloud services to the Internet of Things, IoT, and beyond, APIs are the backbone of modern software development. However, this increased reliance on APIs also presents a tempting target for cybercriminals. Just like any other software component, APIs can have vulnerabilities that, if exploited, can lead to data breaches, financial losses, and reputational damage. Insecure APIs are like unlocked doors, inviting hackers to stroll in and wreak havoc. APIs are often complex and multifaceted, making them susceptible to a wide range of security flaws. Some of the most common API vulnerabilities include broken authentication. Weak or non-existent authentication mechanisms can allow attackers to impersonate legitimate users and gain unauthorized access to sensitive data. Lack of rate limiting. Without proper rate limiting, attackers can bombard APIs with excessive requests, overwhelming the system and causing denial of service (DOS) attacks. Excessive data exposure. Overly permissive data access controls can expose more information than necessary, increasing the potential damage in case of a breach. Injection attacks. Just like traditional web applications, APIs can be vulnerable to injection attacks, such as SQL injection and command injection, allowing attackers to execute malicious code on the server. These vulnerabilities can arise from a variety of factors, including coding errors, misconfigurations, and a lack of security awareness during the development process. As APIs become increasingly complex and interconnected, the attack surface expands, making it even more critical to prioritize API security. To effectively secure APIs, it's essential to think like a hacker and identify potential vulnerabilities before they can be exploited. Thankfully, there are a number of powerful tools available to help security professionals and ethical hackers test API security. Postman, a popular API platform that allows users to send requests, receive responses, and analyze API behavior. It's widely used for testing, documenting, and mocking APIs. Burp Suite, a comprehensive web security testing toolkit that includes a dedicated API scanner for identifying vulnerabilities in REST and SOAP APIs. It allows for intercepting, modifying, and replaying API requests and responses. OWASP Zap, a free and open-source web application security scanner that can also be used to test API security. It offers a range of automated and manual testing features, including spidering, scanning, and fuzzing. These tools provide a glimpse into the arsenal of techniques used by both ethical and malicious hackers. By understanding how these tools work, developers and security professionals can better anticipate and mitigate potential attacks. Let's walk through a hypothetical scenario to illustrate how an insecure API can be exploited. Imagine an online shopping website with an API that allows users to view product details, add items to their cart, and place orders. Step 1. Endpoint discovery. An attacker might start by discovering the API endpoints, which are like URLs that specify the location and functionality of different API resources. This can be done through various means, such as analyzing the website's traffic, inspecting mobile app communications, or simply guessing common API endpoints. Step 2. Authentication testing. Once the attacker has identified potential API endpoints, they might test the authentication mechanisms. They might try to access restricted resources without providing any credentials, using weak or default credentials, or exploiting vulnerabilities in the authentication process. Step 3. Input injection. If the API allows user input without proper validation or sanitization, the attacker might attempt to inject malicious code, such as SQL queries or system commands, into the API request. This could allow them to bypass authentication, access sensitive data, or even take control of the server. Step 4. Data harvesting. Once the attacker has gained unauthorized access, they might start harvesting sensitive data, such as user credentials, payment information, or proprietary business data. This data can then be sold on the dark web, used for identity theft, or held for ransom. This is just one example of how an API can be exploited. The specific techniques and attack vectors will vary depending on the nature of the API, the vulnerabilities present, and the attacker's goals. Section 5. Building fortresses, not sandcastles. Best practices for API security. Securing APIs is not a one-time task, but rather an ongoing process that requires a multi-layered approach. Here are some best practices for building secure APIs. Implement strong authentication and authorization. Use robust authentication mechanisms such as multi-factor authentication to verify user identities. Implement granular authorization controls to restrict access to sensitive data based on user roles and permissions. Enforce rate limiting and input validation. Implement rate limiting to prevent DOS attacks, and input validation to sanitize user input and prevent injection attacks. Minimize data exposure. Only expose the data that is absolutely necessary for the API's functionality. Use data masking techniques to hide sensitive data elements. Conduct regular security testing. Regularly test APIs for vulnerabilities using automated tools and manual penetration testing techniques. Stay up to date with security patches. Keep API software and dependencies up to date with the latest security patches to mitigate known vulnerabilities. By following these best practices, organizations can significantly reduce the risk of API exploitation and protect their valuable data and systems. Section 6. High-profile API breaches, cautionary tales. The importance of API security cannot be overstated, as evidenced by the numerous high-profile API breaches that have occurred in recent years. These incidents serve as cautionary tales, highlighting the devastating consequences of insecure APIs. Facebook Cambridge Analytica data scandal 2018. This scandal involved the unauthorized harvesting of millions of Facebook users' data through a quiz app that exploited vulnerabilities in Facebook's API. The data was allegedly used to influence voter behavior in the 2016 US presidential election. Equifax data breach 2017. One of the largest data breaches in history, the Equifax breach exposed the personal information of over 147 million people. The breach was caused by a vulnerability in a web application that used an outdated version of the Apache Struts framework. Instagram API vulnerability 2020. This vulnerability allowed attackers to bypass Instagram's security measures and access users' personal information, including phone numbers and email addresses, by sending specially crafted requests to Instagram's API. These breaches underscore the critical need for robust API security measures and the importance of learning from past mistakes to prevent future incidents. Section 7. The ethics of hacking, a double-edged sword. Hacking in its purest form is about creatively manipulating systems and finding vulnerabilities. It's a tool that can be used for good or evil, like a lockpick that can open a door to help someone locked out or to burglarize a home. Ethical hackers, also known as white hat hackers, use their skills to find and fix vulnerabilities, making systems more secure. They operate with permission and within legal boundaries, using their knowledge to protect, not exploit. On the other hand, malicious hackers or black hat hackers exploit vulnerabilities for personal gain, causing harm, stealing data, or disrupting services. The line between ethical and malicious hacking can be blurry, and it's crucial to understand the ethical implications of hacking before engaging in any security testing. Always seek permission before testing any systems or applications, and never use your skills to harm others or engage in illegal activities. Section 8. The future of API security, a call to action. As we move further into the digital age, APIs will continue to play an increasingly vital role in our interconnected world. The attack surface will continue to expand, and cybercriminals will become more sophisticated in their tactics. To stay ahead of the curve, organizations and security professionals must adopt a proactive and multi-layered approach to API security. This includes implementing strong authentication, authorization, and rate-limiting mechanisms, conducting regular security testing, and staying up to date with the latest security best practices. The future of API security relies on a collaborative effort between developers, security professionals, and organizations to build more secure and resilient systems. Section 9. Conclusion. Staying ahead in the cybersecurity arms race. In the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity, APIs have become both the bridge to innovation and a potential gateway for attackers. Understanding how to exploit insecure APIs, while strictly for educational purposes, is crucial for anyone involved in software development and security. By learning from past breaches, adopting best practices, and fostering a culture of security awareness, we can build a more secure digital future, where APIs continue to power innovation without compromising the safety and privacy of users. Remember, the best way to protect ourselves is to anticipate the moves of our adversaries and build systems that are as resilient as they are